I want to get better results. I have to be more patient. Sometimes I just don't know which model is going to be most important. I was surprised a little bit, but the content was actually really, really good. If I want better answers, so whenever you go inside your AI of choice, there's normally different models that you can choose from. Most of us just use the default model. If you're into coding, you might choose certain ones. Into research, you might choose other ones. But for most of us, we simply use that default model. So what I want to do is just check things out. I know what the definitions are for all these. We'll talk a little bit about them. But really, I wanted to see if I take the same prompt and I dropped it in each model, what I get back that's going to be different. Sometimes it's about speed. And so some of the more in-depth models will take a little bit longer, maybe a minute or two, and some of the faster ones will obviously be fast. But I want to see what kind of quality I get back and how important it is. The reason why it matters is, I guess I have the question, like, does it matter which model I actually choose most of the time? My theory is it probably isn't going to matter. I'm not doing scientific research. I'm looking for answers to questions, but I just want to play around with it and kind of see what's going to matter. Is it really going to make a big difference? So what should the question be? All right. So I wanted to keep the prompt response pretty short. So I'm going to say 500 words, and it's just the rise of machines and how it has changed society for better or worse. That's it. And if you look over here in the top left, that's where you see the different models. And the default is 4.0. That's the default for everybody. And you can do most things with that one. And you go down, you've got brief explanations for each one. And I'm not going to be the best person to explain all of them, so I won't even bother. But you got O3 Pro, you have mini, mini high. Then you have more models, 4.5, 4.1, and 4.1 mini. And some of these are going to be good for coding, especially, and especially if they involve a lot of thought that goes into it, that you need a lot of consideration. But I want to see what happens when I drop this particular prompt into each one. Let's just see. Okay, that first one's not too bad. All right, so now I'm in the O3 model. So with the O3 model, what you get there is you actually get to see the thinking process or the thought process behind the model. And that's pretty cool. It's also going to go and find sources for what it's thinking. I didn't get that with the 4.0 model. And so a lot of times with the 4.0 model, if you're just looking for an answer to a question or maybe kind of your brainstorming, that's the perfect place. But if you want something a little bit more in depth that also cites sources, this O3 is going to give it to you. And again, it took a little bit longer, but that's okay. And you'll notice it gives you these links, right, which are really good. I have lots of citations. I have lots of percentages and data in here, which is nice. And you can tell that the style is a little bit different as well. And so it feels more academic. And if that's what I'm looking for, that's going to be perfect. Okay, next one. This is the Pro. Now, Pro is going to take even longer than what we just saw with the O3 model. So this model is slower. So if you're not patient, you're not going to want to use O3 Pro, or you can kick it off and then go do something else and then come back. And that's one thing to explain. When you kick off a process like this, and let's say I go and I open up another tab or another chat, it still does it in the background. You don't have to keep it open to this screen or this tab in order for it to continue. A lot of times we think that, even myself, like, oh, if I get off of this, what's going to happen? It's going to be just fine. I wish I knew some good jokes. I don't know any good AI jokes. AI could help me write some good jokes, though. That'd be kind of cool. AI doesn't write good jokes, though. They're more dad jokes than anything, just so you know. All right, so you can see it reasoned for 3 minutes and 57 seconds. So the 4.0 model, it took just a split second. And for the O3 model, it took, I think it was 28 seconds. So not bad. So it's a lot longer. And what's really going on, it's not trying to give you the fastest answer possible. That's what 4.0 model is trying to do, get you the answer as quickly as possible. This model and both O3 models and these other ones, what they're trying to do is to get an answer and then go back and critique it and constantly refine it just many, many times to make sure it's giving you the best possible answer. Just like you and I, sometimes the first answer that we get isn't necessarily going to be the most in-depth. And so that's what it's really trying to do here. And in this one, you can tell there's no citations. It looks like the verbiage is maybe a little bit more academic. And now let's do the O4 Mini. So that one was super fast. Okay. So speed, and I'm not going through trying to read everything that's there, but it's not bad. It's pretty good. I mean, better than what I would write in a half a second. Now we'll do O4 Mini High, which is great for coding and visual reasoning, which is probably not going to be too helpful here, but let's do it. This is interesting. It doesn't break anything into sections, which is something we got in every other one of these models. And now we'll go into, this is 4.5. So even though this one started to answer immediately, it feels like it's going to be slower because I can still see it. It's not done yet. This one's also interesting too. It's not broken apart at all by any sections or subheadings. Okay, so that one, I don't know, that might have taken about a minute, I guess. And I know I'm doing a bad job of trying to compare them right now, but I'm just trying to see what I get differently here. Now we'll do 4.1. Let me do that one here. Okay. Now this is the 4.1 Mini. And again, that one was pretty fast. Now, so here I'm going to actually, it's not a different model. So I'm going to go back to the 4.0 model and I'm going to add deep research. Now, even on the free versions, you're going to have a deep research opportunity. And I'm going to change this and I just want to look at the web for what I'm going to ask it on this one. Same prompt. And then if you do that, and please note, like when you look at your deep research, you only get so many per month or per cycle. And I think on the free version, I think you get 10 or 20. On the version I have, I get a few hundred. So if you only have 10 or 20, make sure you use them wisely. You don't get them back, but we'll go ahead and submit this. And what you'll notice right off the bat is that with the deep research, it's going to go back and research for quite a bit. Usually it's 8 to maybe 10 minutes, sometimes a little bit longer or shorter. But the first thing it does is ask a bunch of clarifying questions, which you'll notice that I didn't get those clarifying questions with any of the other models. And so this one, which is deep research, is just a little bit different. So I'm going to go ahead and answer these questions. Now, sometimes you might think that you need to mirror exactly what's going on here and say one, and I'm going to say, all of it. And then I, kind of go 1, 2, 3, 4 like that. I can do it that way. Or what I can also do is just list them. So the first question is specific focus. And I'm going to say broader. And that's all I'm going to say because that's how I'm going to answer that question. And then I'm just going to put a comma and say, and I'm going to say all of those. That's what I want it to focus on. That's question 2. Question 3, balanced view or more argumentative. Let's be argumentative. And the last one, and we're going to say it's going to be a public audience. All right, so I'm going to answer those. And now what it's going to say is, all right, hey, thanks a lot. And it's going to go do research for me. Now, we waited, I think was 4 minutes, maybe 5 minutes for, I think the O3 Pro model. This one is definitely going to take longer than that. But just like that model, it's going to come back with citations and help me know like where I got the information. And so I'm not going to sit here and wait for it. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to grab all the other responses and I'm going to drop them into a document. And I want to see if I can try to compare them a little bit better. All right, so I got the response back from deep research. You can see the time here. It took 8 minutes and it felt like an absolute eternity, but it also has a whole bunch of sources that we'll see inside here. So let's look. Now, it completely ignored the 500 words that I asked it to actually do it in, which is okay because it's giving me some really good information. It is shorter than most of the time what I'll get from it. But what you can see here with deep research again is that it's got citations for so many different things, and it spent a lot of time doing research, and it's a pretty good response. One of the cool things too, if you want to share this, you can actually make it a shareable link, or you can just download it as a PDF, and you can share it that way. And the model I thought was probably really good, and but not too insanely long, is the O3 model. So let's use that one. And I'm looking for some advanced reasoning here. And I'm going to go ahead and say this. I took all those responses I got from every one of the models plus the one from deep research. I put it into one single document. I'm going to attach that document, and I'm going to ask for a comparison between all of them. And so what I like about this particular model, it's being thoughtful. It's explaining to me what it's doing, and kind of why, and that's helpful for me as I'm kind of thinking through what I have asked it to do. And while the deep research was going through, I went and read through the documents really quickly. And besides the ones that cite sources and are a little bit more in depth, I couldn't tell just by reading fast which ones were better, which ones were worse. I thought the 4.0 one was definitely the quickest, but it seemed a little bit on the shallow side, and obviously less academic. And then the other ones tended to be a little bit more academic. But let's see what the model actually says here. So it took a minute and 21 seconds. So this is interesting. So it gives a pretty good explanation of what was going on, what has the data. Interesting. And I'll look just at the first few. So I see some of the commentary right here, heavier on numbers than on the narrative. And that's absolutely true. It was definitely heavy on the numbers there. So that's an interesting comment there. It really beats up on the deep research one where it says it blows past the 500 word limit, overwhelming length and hard to skim. That's absolutely true. That's a good critique for what I was asking it to do. And so key takeaways, it really liked the O3 model, O3 Pro, better said. And for the depth and the structure within the limit, and an ideal. Okay. So again, you have different models for different things. What I suggest and recommend is just to, try out different ones. So this might have been fun for you. Maybe it was exhausting, but to try out the different models to know when you want to use certain ones. I'll drop in the chat some more information there that might be helpful, but go and play with them and see which ones are going to be best for you in certain situations. If you always use the same model, then that might not be the best thing for you. But if you are playing around with different models based off of what you're doing, you might be able to get better results. And we're using AI, all of us, so we can get better results. Why not do that by just toggling a few buttons here and there, depending on certain circumstances? Let someone else know about how to do this as well. Share that information. Have a good day.